We were invited to a vacation home in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire, by another couple, Michael's longtime friends. But when I saw only one bed, I realized this wasn't just a weekend getaway. That night, Michael and his friends, Sarah and Ethan, focused on nothing but me. Michael's hands rested on my hips, matching my pace as I steadied myself against his chest. My breath caught every time I said his name, my voice rising slightly with each repetition. The headboard bumped gently against the wall, the sheets loose beneath my knees, sunlight stretching across the room. He looked up at me, a grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. "You always start in control," he said. "But I like seeing this side of you. Stay right there." His voice was low and calm. I paused for a moment, and he smiled again. He stayed close, keeping our pace steady and deliberate. I leaned in one final time, watching the tension in his expression shift, then lowered my head and rested against him, still and quiet. We stayed there, breathing in sync, one of his hands tracing gentle circles across my back. "You know you're still every man's dream," he murmured. I smiled. "Now you're just flattering me." "I'm serious," he said. "You walk into a room, and everyone notices men, women, all of them." I tilted my head, slightly curious. "What are you getting at?" He didn't answer, just smiled. "I've planned something for us this weekend." "What kind of something?" I asked. He grinned. "You'll see. Pack something light and maybe something you don't mind wearing in front of other people." I raised an eyebrow. "That's all you're giving me?" He chuckled, gave my thigh a light tap, and pulled me back into his arms. "Don't think about it now," he said. "Just focus on me." We arrived the next afternoon. The sun was high, the breeze warm, and the vacation home looked even better than the picture's modern lines. Tall windows, and a wraparound deck opening straight to the beach. Sarah and Ethan were already out front, waving before we even pulled into the driveway. I waved back, smiling. We hadn't seen them in months, but from the way they rushed over, you'd think we were family. Sarah hugged me tightly, longer than usual. "You look incredible," she said, pressing her cheek to mine. "Seriously, you're glowing." Ethan smiled at me, clearly agreeing. We've been counting down the days. Inside, everything was set, wine poured, snacks laid out, music playing softly through the open living room. The air smelled of citrus and sunscreen. "Go ahead and drop your bags," Sarah said, handing me a glass. "Rooms are all set up." I headed down the hall, expecting to see 2 doors open, but only one was. One room, one bed, fluffed pillows, fresh sheets no second room prepared. I turned back. Wait, just this one Sarah leaned against the doorframe, sipping her wine with a smile. Of course. We figured we could all share. I didn't answer her. I just stood there, holding my bag, wine in hand. Sarah didn't wait for a response. She smiled, turned, and disappeared down the hallway, as if she hadn't said anything unusual. I followed a few seconds later, walking slower. The house felt different now, warmer, quieter, like something had shifted. I found Michael by the back window, drink in hand, staring out at the water. "You said you had a surprise." I said, "Was that it?" He didn't look away. "Part of it." I waited. "You planned this?" He nodded. "We've talked about it before." They were curious. I was too, and I thought maybe you'd be open to it. With no warning, I asked. "I didn't want to pressure you," he said. "I just wanted to see how you'd feel once you were here." I stared at him, not sure whether I was more annoyed or intrigued. "And if I hated the idea, then nothing happens," he said, finally meeting my eyes. We unpack, have dinner, enjoy the weekend like always. Before I could respond, I heard the soft clink of a glass behind me. Sarah stood in the doorway again, barefoot, relaxed, eyes on me. "Hey," she said gently. "You okay?" I gave a small nod, though I wasn't entirely sure. She stepped into the room, moving as if she'd done it 100 times. "I know it's unexpected," she said, "but it doesn't have to be anything you don't want." I didn't reply, just watched her. She moved closer, her perfume mixing softly with the citrus in the air. Her fingers lightly touched mine, trailing up my arm. "You should know," she added, her voice softer now. "We've noticed you for a long time." My breath caught, not from shock but from the way she said it, like it was a compliment. "You don't have to do anything," she said, her eyes steady on mine, "but I'd like it if you did." Then she reached up, tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear, and kissed me. She didn't ask. She took my hand, fingers lacing through mine, and led me down the hallway with quiet certainty. Behind us, I heard the slow, even steps of Michael following. Inside the bedroom, the air felt different, warmer, stiller, like it was waiting. She turned to me, calm and steady, and kissed me again. Slower, longer. Her mouth brushed mine in a way that softened everything around us. I felt the edge of the bed press gently behind my legs as she moved me back, still close, still sure. Then I sensed Michael step in behind me. His breath touched my neck, his presence grounding me. One hand moved up my side, hers shifted slightly lower. Together, they eased the fabric from my body, quietly, gently, until I felt the air settle across my skin. They didn't rush. Their hands moved with quiet intention, their touches blending together in perfect rhythm. It wasn't about speed. It was about attention. They guided me down to the bed like I was something precious. Sarah leaned in first, her hands gliding along my sides, her lips brushing over my skin in slow, thoughtful passes. I tensed, then exhaled, feeling her take her time. There was no hurry in how she moved, only patience, only focus. I held the sheets close, my eyes closed, letting myself feel it. The bed shifted again. Michael was beside me, his hand touching my cheek, then turning my face toward him. His kiss was soft, familiar, anchoring. I leaned into it, letting him steady me while she continued to explore. Then came a voice, starting without me. It was Ethan. I didn't turn toward him. I didn't need to. Everything around me already felt full. Michael leaned back slightly. Sarah paused for only a second. Then they both turned toward Ethan. Something changed. Michael moved closer, his body aligning with mine as he held me in place. He didn't press or pull. He simply moved with me, creating quiet pressure that pulled me deeper into the moment. Sarah climbed over me, her body folding around mine as she moved into place, her breath catching just above me, her hand sliding behind my neck. I looked up, and she guided me forward, her skin brushing against my lips as we matched each other's rhythm. The bed shifted again. Ethan was nearby now, his presence close, calm. Sarah reached out for him instinctively, one hand resting lightly at his side. He didn't speak. He just stayed still while she leaned into him. We were surrounded, Michael holding me close, Sarah's warmth pressing over me, Ethan steady in front of her. I wasn't focused on any one part of it. I just let it happen, let it carry me. Every breath I took, every movement I made, was shared. Then it shifted again. Michael helped me upright, easing me over his lap, keeping his hands on mine. I adjusted slowly, letting my body respond without thought. I found my balance, my breath, and the rhythm came naturally from there. Sarah leaned in again, kissing me harder now, her fingers in my hair, her breath brushing over my lips. Her mouth didn't leave mine. Then I felt Ethan behind me. His hands travelled over my back and down to my sides, slow and even. He didn't rush. He moved with me, letting the timing settle between us, letting me feel his presence fully before continuing. They didn't push. They held me, supported me, waited until I was ready, then moved again, keeping close, never letting go. Their energy wove together around me. I could feel all of its steady hands, warm breath, soft mouths. I didn't know what to hold on to, so I held on to everything. And then, like a tide pulling away, it crested not all at once, but in waves, soft, sure, undeniable. My breath caught, my body paused, and I let it take me. The next thing I remembered was opening my eyes to sunlight. My body felt different, looser, heavier, satisfied. The second I moved, I knew one thing for sure: I wasn't finished. They were all still asleep. Michael lay behind me, one arm resting across my waist. Sarah was curled beside me, her breath shallow, her lips slightly parted. Ethan was sprawled near the foot of the bed, one leg tangled in the sheet. But I wasn't done. My thighs still tingled from the night before, but the lingering sensation only sharpened my awareness. My body didn't feel tired. It felt electric. I slipped the covers off and climbed over Michael. I didn't whisper, didn't wait. I moved with certainty, my breath catching as heat stirred beneath my skin. I didn't hold back. Every shift was deliberate. He stirred beneath me, still half asleep, but his body responded without question. His hands reached for my hips, trying to guide me, but I wasn't following. I led. The bed shifted beneath us. I leaned forward, pressing my hands flat against his chest. Heat climbed up my spine, and I kept going, relentless, focused. Then I felt eyes on me. Sarah. Her face was flushed, her shoulder bare, her chest rising slowly with each breath. She didn't speak. She just watched. I locked eyes with her, her lips parting slightly, her gaze steady. "Come here," I said, my voice low and firm. She pushed herself upright, still shaking off sleep. I reached out, took her wrist, and guided her to me. Our mouths met in a kiss that was urgent and consuming. Her hand slid over my waist as she leaned closer, but I didn't slow. I kept my pace. I kept control. Behind me, a quiet shift. A breath. Ethan. He was watching too. I didn't stop. "Get over here," I said without turning around. He moved quickly. No hesitation. I reached back, guided his hands over my back, my sides, my hips, teaching him my rhythm. He learned fast. Sarah kissed along my jaw, her fingers tangled in my hair. Michael groaned beneath me, his hands tightening, still locked into my pace. I was surrounded, but I was steering all of it. Ethan moved in close, sinking to every movement, solid and present at my back. I adjusted my stance, anchoring myself. His hand stayed firm, following my lead. No one pulled me. No one directed me. I held it together. Michael stayed beneath me, his motions aligned with mine. Sarah's mouth found mine again, deeper now, her breath breaking as I gripped her tighter. I moved with all of them. Each motion began with me. Every reaction traced back to what I gave them. I was the axis. Everything followed. Ethan picked up the rhythm, building gradually. I pressed harder, my breath coming fast. I grabbed the sheets to steady myself, kissed Sarah until her breath melted into mine, and leaned into the tension I had created. When it finally took over, it didn't build slowly, it rushed in all at once. Overwhelming and sharp. My breath faltered. My whole body held still, then released. It pulsed through me like a storm, rolling in waves, flooding every inch until my thoughts scattered. And all I could do was hold on. I collapsed forward, still trembling. My skin buzzed, my chest rising and falling in short, staggered breaths. They dropped around me, breathless, quiet, undone. But I didn't. I sat up slowly, the burns still fresh beneath my skin, sweat tracing down my chest. My legs were weak, but I wasn't finished. My hunger hadn't faded. It had only grown sharper. Sarah lay on her side, flushed and quiet. Michael was flat on his back, an arm thrown over his eyes. Ethan leaned against the headboard, his breath shallow, his gaze locked on me. I looked at all of them and smiled. "Don't even think about resting," I said, my voice rough and low. "I'm not done with any of you." Phần mở rộng câu chuyện. The room stayed quiet for a moment, the weight of my words hanging in the air. Sarah's eyes widened, a faint smile curling her lips as she propped herself up on one elbow. Michael lifted his arm from his eyes, his gaze meeting mine with a mix of amusement and exhaustion. Ethan shifted, sitting up straighter. his expression unreadable but attentive. The morning sun filtered through the blinds, casting soft lines across their faces, and the sound of waves crashing against Hampton Beach filled the silence. I felt the energy in the room shift, like a tide turning, ready to pull us back in. I stood, the sheet slipping from my body, and walked to the window. The ocean stretched out before the house, its surface glinting under the early light. My skin still thrummed with the night's intensity, but my mind was clear, sharp, alive. I turned back to them. "Get up," I said, my voice steady. "We're going for a walk," Sarah laughed softly, brushing her hair back. "A walk? Now?" "Yes, now," I replied, already pulling on a light sundress from my bag. Michael sat up, rubbing his face. "You're relentless," he said. But there was a spark in his eyes. Ethan didn't say anything, just stood and grabbed a shirt. His movements quick, like he was ready to follow wherever I led. We stepped out onto the deck, the salty air cool against my skin. The beach was nearly empty, save for a few early joggers and gulls circling overhead. Hampton Beach stretched out in both directions, its boardwalk lined with shuttered shops and quiet arcades, still asleep in the morning calm. I led the way down the wooden steps to the sand, my bare feet sinking into its warmth. Michael walked beside me, his hand brushing mine. Sarah and Ethan followed, their footsteps soft behind us. No one spoke, but the silence wasn't heavy. It was charged, like we were all waiting for the next moment to unfold. We walked along the shoreline, the waves lapping at our feet. I stopped and turned to face them, the wind tugging at my dress. "Last night was just the start," I said, my eyes moving from Michael to Sarah to Ethan. "This weekend, we do things my way." Sarah tilted her head, a playful glint in her eyes. "Your way? Huh. What's that look like?" I stepped closer, my voice low. "You'll see." We returned to the house an hour later, the sun climbing higher, warming the deck where we sat with coffee and breakfast. The table was scattered with fruit, pastries, and a pitcher of orange juice Sarah had poured. Michael leaned back in his chair, watching me over his mug. Ethan cut into a grapefruit, his focus deliberate, but I caught him glancing at me every few seconds. Sarah was the first to break the quiet. "So," she said, leaning forward, "what's the plan for today?" "Boss." Her tone was teasing, but her eyes were curious, eager. I set my coffee down. "We're going out on the water," I said. "There's a boat rental place down the boardwalk. We'll take it out. Just the four of us." Michael raised an eyebrow. "You're full of surprises?" I smiled. "You have no idea." By noon, we were on a small yacht, cutting through the waves off Hampton Beach. The sky was clear, the ocean a deep blue that mirrored the intensity I felt inside. I stood at the helm, the wheel steady in my hands, the wind whipping through my hair. Michael stood behind me, his hands on my shoulders, his breath warm against my ear. "You look like you were born for this," he said. I didn't turn, just kept my eyes on the horizon. Maybe I was. Sarah lounged on the deck, her sunglasses reflecting the sun, her bikini catching the light. Ethan sat nearby, his shirt off. his gaze shifting between the water and me. I steered us toward a quiet cove, the engine's hum fading as I cut the power. The boat rocked gently, anchored in the calm. I turned to them. "Strip," I said, my voice calm but firm. Sarah laughed, pulling off her sunglasses. "You don't waste time, do you?" Ethan stood, already tugging his shorts off, his eyes locked on mine. Michael just grinned, stepping closer. The water was cool against my skin as I dove in, the others following. We swam, laughed, and splashed, the tension from the night before simmering beneath the surface. Back on the boat, I pulled Sarah close, her wet hair clinging to her shoulders. I kissed her, tasting salt on her lips, my hands sliding over her slick skin. Michael watched, leaning against the railing, his expression unreadable but intense. Ethan moved behind me, his hands finding my waist, his touch steady, grounding. We moved together, the boat rocking beneath us, the sun warming our skin, the afternoon blurred into a haze of touch and heat. Sarah's fingers traced patterns on my back, her lips soft against my neck. Michael's hands were firm, guiding, familiar. Ethan's presence was quieter, but no less intense, his movements syncing with mine, as if he'd always known my rhythm. We didn't rush. We let each moment build, each touch linger, until the air was thick with it. When it crested, it was slower this time, deliberate, like a fire that burned low but never went out. Back at the house, we showered and changed, the day's energy still pulsing between us. Dinner was simple grilled fish, fresh salad, wine that Sarah poured generously. We ate on the deck, the sunset painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The conversation was light, but every glance, every brush of a hand, carried weight. I felt their eyes on me, waiting, wondering what I'd do next. I leaned back in my chair, sipping my wine. "Tonight," I said, "we play a game." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "A game," I nodded. "Truth or dare? No holding back?" Sarah laughed, clapping her hands. "I'm in." Michael's smile was slow, knowing. This should be interesting. We moved inside, the living room glowing with soft light from the lamps. The rules were simple: answer honestly or follow through. No excuses. I went first, choosing dare. Sarah's eyes gleamed. "Kiss Ethan," she said, "but make it count." I didn't hesitate. I crossed the room, pulled Ethan close, and kissed him deeply, my hands framing his face. His response was immediate, his hands settling on my hips, pulling me closer. When I pulled back, Sarah was watching. Her lips parted. Michael's gaze was steady, approving. The game escalated quickly. Truths revealed desires we'd never spoken aloud. Dares pushed boundaries we hadn't crossed before. Sarah dared Michael to touch me in a way that made my breath hitch, his hands slow and deliberate. Ethan's truth about watching me all weekend sent a shiver down my spine. My dares grew bolder, pulling them closer, weaving us tighter. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, until we abandoned the game altogether. We moved to the bedroom. The same bed where it all began. This time, I set the pace from the start, guiding their hands, their mouths, their bodies. Sarah's touch was soft but insistent, her lips finding mine in a rhythm that felt like a dance. Michael's presence was steady, anchoring, his hands knowing every curve of me. Ethan was a quiet force, his movements precise, following my lead but adding his own intensity. We moved as one, each moment building on the last, until the world narrowed to just us. Just this. When it ended, we lay tangled together, breathless, spent. The room was quiet, the only sound the distant waves. I felt their warmth around me, their breaths slowing, their bodies heavy with satisfaction. But even then, I wasn't done. My hunger was a living thing, sharp and unyielding. The next morning, I woke before them again. The house was still, the light soft through the windows. I slipped out to the deck, a coffee mug in hand, and watched the ocean. My body ached, but it was a good ache, a reminder of everything we'd done. I heard footsteps behind me. Michael. He wrapped his arms around me, his chin resting on my shoulder. "You're something else," he said softly. I smiled, leaning into him. "You're just figuring that out." Sarah joined us, her hair messy, her eyes bright. "What's next?" she asked, her voice playful but curious. Ethan appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching me. I turned to face them all, the ocean at my back, the day stretching out before us. "We've got one more day," I said, "and I'm not wasting it." We spent the day exploring Hampton Beach, walking the boardwalk, eating ice cream from a shop by the pier, playing arcade games until we were laughing like kids. But beneath it all, the tension never faded. Every touch, every glance, was a promise of what would come later. Back at the house, we cooked together, the kitchen filled with laughter and the clink of wine glasses. Sarah teased Ethan about his terrible knife skills. Michael pulled me close, kissing my temple as we stirred a pot of sauce. It felt easy, natural, but the undercurrent was always there, pulling us back to the bedroom. That night, I led them again, my confidence unshakable. I guided Sarah's hands, showed Ethan where to touch, pulled Michael closer until we were a tangle of limbs and breath. Each moment was mine to shape, each reaction a response to my lead. When it ended, we collapsed together, the room spinning, my body humming with satisfaction. But even then I felt the spark, the hunger still burning, as we packed to leave the next morning. The house felt different, like it held our secrets in its walls. Sarah hugged me tightly, her voice soft in my ear. "We need to do this again." Ethan nodded, his smile quiet but warm. Michael took my hand, his eyes steady on mine. "You were incredible," he said. I smiled, squeezing his hand. "We're not done yet," I said. "Not by a long shot, not by a..." We drove away from Hampton Beach, the ocean fading in the rearview mirror. My body was tired, but my mind was alive. already planning the next time, the next moment when I'd take the lead and make them follow. This weekend had changed something in me, and I wasn't going back.